Hello, everybody. Good to see everyone. Thank you for tuning in and being part of this fabulous journey. It is Tuesday, and if you're here, then you have fulfilled your destiny. Congratulations. Happy for that. It's good to know that you can, in fact, fulfill your destiny because we all have one. We're all living one. And this is one that we appreciate you as I get myself here, pulling the bus out sometimes, it can be a pretty wide part in the
Driving
back,
that
but
bus.
exactly. So we speak favor over you, nothing missing, nothing broken. This is a second look. You know who I am. And then I have my lovely co-host, Miss Tarina Phoenix, and of course, the beautiful Jennifer Roberts. Hello, ladies. How
Hey,
are you? Some guy keeps telling me that he's envious, because he said, I'd love to be sitting where you're sitting. And I said,
Oh,
right in the middle.
what can I say? I mean, it just favor works out that way. I mean, it certainly wasn't planned. That's for sure. So, hello, lovely ladies. How are y'all?
good.
Good. Jenny?
Look,
Mhm.
glowy, Trina, glowy. Great. Yeah, great. The weeks moved so fast, though. Don't you
It's
think?
true.
Time, I, it's been a
Our
trip
planet is
this.
it's slowing down, and that causes time to speed up.
Yeah, it's radical.
Weird.
This has been the most radical of it, I think. Um, I've gotten a lot done, but the days have just there's been no accounting for days. They've just sort of been one day stretched into a week, you know? So
And I don't know about you, but for myself, try to remember this past week. Try
yeah,
to
that's what I
remember
mean.
each day. Yeah, I'm telling you, Jenny, and you brought this out about Easter last year.
It's,
It's
it's
happening.
freaky.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, this is more than just one would say conspiracy or you could go metaphysics.
Conjecture.
Thank you, dear. Um, Wow, there is substance to this. There is this change, and it kind of goes with the theme today
Mhm.
of, resist the narrative, because the
Mhm.
narrative is it's all about doom and gloom, and it's like what can be the newest fear. And the fear
Yeah.
they're really amping on. I mean, it's like a patient who's addicted to morphine, but they're going to go ahead and go with heroin. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just that's true. I mean, everywhere you look, and you see the players playing out their roles. And I know a lot of people who are genuinely afraid of November 3rd or 5th, I think is the date. I mean, deathly afraid of it. And it's odd because we stand in the middle, but we have friends and associates that are on both sides,
Is
and
that
it's
a
the same.
political fear?
What's
Is
that,
that a
hon?
fear? Is it a fear based in a political decision that they're fearing on
Oh
the
yeah,
5th?
yeah, and that then becomes an umbrella for their whole existence.
Okay, I've got you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
and
that's isn't it, on your political field?
yeah, that's right. Here in America, it's election day, and the
Okay.
rhetoric is just people are in genuinely fearful. And when I tried to tell this couple, I said, so what's the worst case scenario? Either party takes over. I said, it's been the same process for 240 some odd years in this country. And just because we got technology and everyone amps up, I said, all they're doing is projecting a narrative. If they can get you to be afraid,
Buy it. Yeah.
yeah, you're already beaten. So yeah, resist the narrative. Um,
Wayne, it's so amazing because when you realize everything's getting ready to change,
Hmm.
That's a hard thing to process, and you don't know what's going to happen, where it's going to go. And that's what we've been doing for years, is looking at alternative viewpoints, alternative religions, alternative belief systems, because we knew intuitively that everything was getting ready to fall apart and get shaken and stirred. There's just this gut knowing. And transitioning from Pisces to Aquarius, these transitional ages always seem to be monumental historically, which our history, we don't know what happened when, and it's such a mess. So
Mm.
through this process of breaking our own reality bubbles, a little at a time, I think we're a lot more prepared for these things to happen, because the shock value is not going to be there for us like it will be for so many. So I think that this is the whole reason that we've been doing this, is so there's people that can come together that have already shifted major parts of their own reality constructs to help us navigate through the new realities that we're going to be seeing soon. So yeah, there is hope, but there is nihilism too. You see both
Yeah, and
happening
it's kind of
simultaneously.
like if the consciousness of humanity, the collective consciousness,
Mhm.
um, if we were to say metaphorically, it was a being that breathed water. But now the transition has happened where it's going to have to become an air breathing consciousness as opposed to a water based consciousness. Are y'all seeing what I'm
That's,
trying to get to?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so, what happens? I was a lifeguard one point in my life. And what happens when a person, you bring him back from near drowning? They have to spit that water out, cough it out of the lungs, and breathe in the air. And I swear this is where we are right now. We're in that in between stage where it's difficult to breathe, but we have to breathe, but we're used to breathing or taking in water.
And you know what's so funny, Wayne? I've been seeing this for a long time, and you just kind of defined it. I kept seeing the division of the new, when the Earths would split, one would still be functioning on the third dimensional water, but the other one would be more etheric, which would be more air, which is more
Hmm.
spirit. It's
Yeah.
exactly what I've been seeing, and you just put it into a beautiful wording, because I think that's exactly what we're doing. We're going into that.
Well, we're actually
Yeah.
going from gills to lungs.
Wow.
Well,
That's that.
the
Wow.
combination, I
What's
think
that,
it's a
Jenny?
I think it's a combination that we're in, because the transition is long and short at the same time. The flex and flux of it is, you can feel it like a heartbeat. But it's actually with Aquarius, for me, it's always come across as oxygenated water, because it is the water bearer. But you're right, it's an air sign. So it's actually adding to that oxygen in the water is so healthy for the water in the physical. But it's a very different process when that water's been starved of oxygen. So your analogy was perfect, of learning to breathe both, and breathe
Yes.
oxygen in
And
emotional
you know
body.
what happens when you have oxygen that's under pressure by water? It becomes corrosive.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So there's a balance there of
So
the
yeah,
not.
I mean, if you're resisting the change, what happens? Yeah, and this is it's not just the physical aspect of it, but there is a spiritual component to this that there is, I think, a big change. I think that is happening, and I don't know. I think we ought to be prepared for some interesting phenomenon coming into our reality. Just my opinion, but I think the possibility is very real.
I have a bookmarker set on my books, my Saint Germain books, actually. And I walked in the room this morning to put the camera and stuff up, and it flew off the books. It's amazing phenomena.
You have a
Yeah, I think,
poltergeist there?
normally stuff doesn't do that. So yeah, I definitely sense it was something, but felt very good. But yeah, I don't get a
Yeah, I
lot of
don't sense
movement.
any mischievousness. I
Yeah,
think that it
yeah,
sounds to me like a guide.
yeah, it's interesting. And it says, because I felt they're like, look at that later because I was busy, but it says shine bright like a star. And it's what it is, it's golden star and it's shine bright like a star.
Oh.
Hmm. I can dig that. That's cool.
It's like the stars are coming to our reality now. It's blending together.
You know,
And
we
it,
were just talking how this transition, and yesterday's show I did, God is dead. And instead
Mhm.
of using Nazis and we killed him, I said, well, did religion kill him? And was replaced by nihilism. And we got some great people that are a part of this tribe. And
Mhm.
I wanted to read, if I could, ladies. Um, so all credit out to Dr. Sai. Go back and read what he wrote yesterday talking about God. So in transitions from a water-based reality, and we can add a lot of metaphors to that, to a much freer, and that's how I see, Aquarius. It's a much more freer, it opens, it broadens out the horizon. And the necessity is that from the bull to where we had the Christ, we're, I believe, entering into a new place where we're going to be introduced to a new set of deities, entities. So God, in a sense, would have already been dead. And read what he wrote on this about, what God is, because God is death to some and life to others. But I had this moment of epiphany, and if I can, I'll read this to you. This is what I wrote to him on that. I said, and then there is the saying that God is over the living and the dead. Now, tie that into one's perception as to what reality actually is, inasmuch no two spirits or souls see reality as the same, thus implying that there is no actual reality in the sense that a reality occupies both space and time, since the only reality would be what you see and perceive as being, however you decide to describe it. This would mean there is no actual God because it would be seen and perceived differently by the observer observing God. So God is both dead and alive, much like Schrodinger's cat. We must determine which one we are living if this is what actual living is actually in reality. From my perspective, it would seem we all are living some form of what we call consciousness, moving through different states of consciousness that are entwined with both time and space. If there be a foundation to all this, then the answer is that we each are gods. Thus, we are neither alive or dead. We are, if anything, merely experiencing different states of consciousness which appear to be infinite. Just my observation.
I I concur with that. What I've seen so many times. You will see what you believe, you will believe what you perceive, you will go with what your construct of your mental
And your
construct.
perception of God, or whatever it is, and to Jenny's and to mine and everyone else, like Mary Wynn's or Deborah Sloan, as I'm seeing in there, um,
Yeah.
God can't be then a singularity in its
Mm-mm.
aspect. It would be more fractal in its composite makeup.
As we are fractaled as part of its composite makeup.
Yeah, because in
Yeah.
actuality, we're neither living nor dead.
We are both. It's just weird when you were talking about Aquarius. They were showing me my team. They're like going, yes, yes. They're like when they pour the water onto the earth, and the bearer has 1 foot on the earth and 1 foot in the heavens. So this is the blending of heaven and earth. And they were showing me in reference, this will be the pouring of the holy living waters onto the land. Like it's going to bring it back to life because it's no more the dead water. It's now going into the living waters as to support the living gods.
Yeah, but
I
and
don't
here's
know
the
what that
interesting
means.
thing, though. Aquarius would be God over Pisces. because Aquarius holds the pitcher of which the water is
Yeah.
substance too.
Yeah.
Meaning, in my mind and how I would see it, then we probably have never met this entity because seems to be superior to the previous two that we have records of. That's Taurus, and then moving in again into Pisces, into Aquarius. That requires, uh, and this is just my interpretation. The potential is that which pours the water out, which would be the controller of that water because it contained it.
I see it as a cycle of healing. So nature, I see every day healing itself, no matter what's done to it. It works so hard to rebalance and recalibrate and serve the other nature around it, the birds and the insects and stuff like that. So nature comes up with a worm that eats plastic because the earth is drowning in plastic. So there's a cycle to that, and that worm could be superior to other worms, let's say, because it can do something that the previous ones couldn't. And it's a healing thing, a debriding thing. The same way I think you've just described the astrology and the changing over, that deity would seem superior because actually right now we've come into a time when the physical waters need to be healed. I know in the UK we need to heal the waters and bring them back to a living standard, like Trina said. And that would be applicable to what you said, Wayne, of the pouring of the anointed waters. And right now in the physical, we really do need the healing of anointed waters, new waters that are coming afresh. And so I think what you've said there is perfect to the cycle that sort of protects creation and continues to attempt to recalibrate. What the shame about humans is we seem to have to push to get to the worst to the end of each phase that we go into, like from Pisces to Aquarius, instead of us going in there ahead like a really well managed business, of like, well, there's not too much for you to do, Aquarius, because we've been really proactive with this and we've been recycling this and innovative with this. So we haven't been damaging as much. Humans seem to, on a wide scale, push to, like you say, that fear that then turns to nihilism, that then turns to just
Despair,
despair, yeah, and stagnancy and
without
creation. So
hope.
there's so much to do. Yeah. Yeah. For the next cycle to come in, there's so much more anointing to be done and healing and recalibrating to be done. Um, just because of how we seem to push to that limit of each side of the pendulum.
Yeah, I
You know
mean,
what's amazing too? When you look at the astrology, how it represents in the body, Pisces is the feet. It's the ground. And Aquarius is the crown.
and
So
Rick brought
we're
this
going,
out. Water holds memories.
yes,
Absolutely.
So
conscious.
when we talk about this, I'm drawn back to, my Bible class. And when we were studying end time prophecy, you look at the book of Jeremiah, and now I'm seeing it in a wholly different aspect. What if this guy was a time traveler and actually saw this unfolding? How would you be able to describe it in such a manner that humans who didn't even know each other would have a basis? Well, it's the pouring out of a new spirit, a new wine, a new
Yes.
water, an
Remember I told you
anointed
too,
water.
when we switch through these signs, we're moving the position in the solar system a little bit. So we align now in the Aquarian sign. So as we do that movement, the angels or the angles of light coming from the sun are going to be different because they're running now through Aquarius. So this will change the gods because the light that we receive all code and information from, now the solar logos, just like we all see from one different angle, one different perception, we're all holding that different view. When we enter into Aquarius, we will be seeing from a different point of view from the solar logos, which informs and codes the water, the plants, us, everything. So yes, this is a changing of from one consciousness to a new consciousness through the power of the solar logos, which in essence is the programmer of this entire matrix.
Yeah, for me, it's now what's interesting, if you continue into that study of that vein,
Mhm.
then there is this, you can call it a warning, you can call it a heads up, but something of the heavens. Now, I'm a real fan of Ben Davidson over Suspicious Observers, and his ideology is that we're in the beginning stages of this cataclysm. And this would be a crescendo when the sun would have a micronova event, which would then be a very bad day here on Earth because of the pole flips. Now, we've read about these pole flips, the story of Enki, well, God, and Noah. That was, in fact, a pole flip, and it was the result of this. We're also now in this galactic current sheet. We're smack dab in it, and every planet in our solar system, including our sun, are seeing reversals. Now, I
Yes.
correlate the reversal to what our conversation is, then a reversal for us in consciousness. Is it that we're going back in the cycle to where we once had this clarity of thought because air, breathing, Aquarius, seems to bring us back to where I would call the center of what truth is? Just throwing it out there.
I
So you've
think
got a
like the
cataclysm that's going to wipe out life on here. It will basically re-anoint the earth, and the earth will begin a new life cycle.
Yes. It's interesting when you were just talking about the plasma sheath coming. I had that the memory of you saying the membrane, and you couldn't get through the
Oh,
membrane.
wow. Ain't that
I
the truth?
literally just saw that, and I thought we are going through a membrane into a new cell. Some won't, some will. Yeah,
True.
yeah.
I
Wow.
mean, if you read the Thunderbolts Project, go there and check out their videos on their channel. They have their one of their best production was A Time Before This Time. Now, in the book of Isaiah, it said, excuse me, that there was a time on earth when there were great cities, but no man occupied them. Well, that's indication of a history we don't have records of, that there had to be someone else here building these cities.
I think
So,
it's clearly defined in Genesis. In the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth. They made it again. It was
oh,
tohu vahu. They
or maybe it
literally
was Enki and
remade.
Eniel. I don't
They
know,
could they could have been the gods of that
I think they
time.
were. I
For
think they
real,
were.
the representations of what people associated to as gods, because creator and gods might have been different things to these people too. We don't know that. That these were the gods because they were like high level beings with all this intelligence, sharing alien technology with us. So they were the gods, but I wonder if they looked at the creator as still a creator, but they knew
Well,
that
how
these
about
were the,
this? How about
yeah.
this? What if it's no longer Homo sapiens?
Oh,
This
I don't think it is.
transition would say that the sapiens are going to have to fade out. Something new is going to take its place.
I think it's already here.
I think you're
Hmm.
right.
like
I mean, that's like the thing I did last week on hybrids. There are no humans here.
Yeah, I think it's here. And I think that's why we can get to this level of consciousness. And it seems that when we get to this level of consciousness, they hit those reset buttons.
Well, and it seems like there's a lot of struggle with our species when new consciousness come into the play. It seems
Yeah.
like there is just resistance.
Yeah. And that, Wayne, I think you're right. I think that's what kills the gods because I think these thought forms, these egregores, they need worship. And if they don't receive worship, could you imagine? That means Augustus Caesar, all these different ones, they were all looked at the same way. the philosophers, the magicians, all of them, they were looked at as gods. And
Yeah.
now that their memories faded and they've faded from our memory and our stuff, they have no more energy to sustain those thought forms. So they will be dissolving. And that would be the death of a god in my
Wouldn't it?
perspective. Yeah, it seems to be. So I think you're spot on. And with the falling of religion, it's so heartbreaking because it can create such a lack of
Yes.
hope. But this is where people need to know, no, this doesn't mean that what you believed is wrong. It means that what you believed was incomplete.
And
Make it
maybe our
bigger.
interpretation of the
Make
Christ
it,
when he said to be born again or
yes.
a new life wasn't necessarily what the theologists of that day came to. Maybe he was talking about this, what's happening right now.
Yes, to really know thyself and understand you're part of this creation.
Yeah.
This is, you're not outside of it. You don't need a mediator. That's a big jump for
Oh, it is a
humanity's
huge jump.
consciousness. So, yeah, this is, I think, so instead of despair and hope, really know that this is your way to get bigger with your consciousness. It doesn't have to crush you or destroy you. It can literally lift you to a new place you've never been that embraces your belief systems even greater than they were before, because you can expand on them and know that that was just a part, but now you're seeing a bigger picture of what creation actually is.
A new
So you,
wine, a
yes,
new
the new
spirit.
wine, yes, the new spirit, the new breath, the new life.
What say you, Jenny? You're sitting down there just being so beautiful and quiet.
Thank you. Everything that you're saying, I agree with, and that I keep saying, to be honest, I'm having a vision right now of a connection of all the things you've been saying. When Trina was talking about the prisms, and previously you were talking about seeing such fear and such divide on either side of you, of people you know, people you care about. And we are coming into a lot of us, especially in this chat and here in this space, and many others, an alignment where we're seeing a projection of light, like the triangle of light, and you can bounce it from the different angles. And we seem to be coming in enough of the same spectrum, yes, still with different fractals, perspectives of the view, but we're coming into real alignment and bouncing off each other in a much more resonant field, because there's much more alignment within a large spectrum of perspectives that align with the current energies drawing us forward. And then when you see it reflected in reality, what's happening in spirit, you're right about the gods, that the people on either side with their previous gods, or the people that they trusted or followed, or just put into power over their lives, they feel like they're getting burned. And with that becomes more and more despair. So they're bouncing into another angle and becoming aligned with each other on that large spectrum. So we're in the middle of two big streams of connected consciousness, but connected in fear. But then again, you see it reflected, the changes happening in that the gods are dying. If anybody was to look back, like you and Trina have just beautifully described, at the perspective that was written in the time it was written, maybe we are looking at it from the wrong sphere, from the wrong perspective, or bouncing it with the wrong light. Just so people in however many years' time look back and see that all of these people that were stars in Hollywood with accolades and big golden trophy-like gifts, for their great workings, they would be seen from the people of the past that wrote about the gods as gods, because how could they have such a big tithing? How could they have such a big following? How could they have such? So we are actually seeing the death throes of many different godlike figures in people's lives that are in no way creators for the huge field of creation that's here, but have created a following enough that in the past and future could be seen as mistakenly as gods. But in those people's lives where they were looking at them as gods in the sphere of light that they were in, they truly are witnessing and feeling desperately the death of gods, the death of
Yeah.
leaders. And that's where the
It's
nihilism.
it's like for myself, former minister in the gospel and through my study in the occult and beginning to really study, the conflict I had as a Christian was that once I realized who Yahweh was, who the Elohim were, there's no way that I can correlate that God, that deity of the Old Testament, with this New Testament deity called the Father, that
Right.
supposedly was the Father of love. The
Yep.
problem has been the conflict that message did not take. And because we're moving now in, because the New Testament came in when we were moving out of Taurus, the bull. The bull was representative of Yahweh, the Hebrew God.
Yep.
So then
Moses,
we,
10 Commandments. Yep.
yeah, then we had the Christ who came in. He brought in this concept of love, forgiveness. Well, you can't have love and forgiveness and have judgment and death. The two don't jibe. You're trying to make something adhesive that's not two. So now I sit here and I feel so blessed in so many ways that because, and it actually, there was a prophecy. He only said a very small remnant would see this and understand what was happening in these end days. And I'm sitting here in marvel seeing this transition that happened to humanity 2000 plus years ago. We're experiencing it now.
Remember, I told you, Wayne, we're doing it again. We're doing it again.
Yeah.
I knew I could feel it years ago.
Someone
I'm like,
said,
we're
well, you don't
doing it
believe in
again.
God. And I said, no, 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 no. I just don't believe in your God.
Right.
You know, that's
Right.
the difference here. I mean, don't be putting words in my mouth,
Right.
I never said
Don't
that.
tell me my faith. Don't talk to me about my faith. I might
Slap
know
your
God a
mama on the
little bit.
ass.
Yeah. And most of us might know the part of creator more than others because we've
Yeah,
desperately seeked to know that truth.
yeah.
You only get there by going into your own inner universe. You have to go into your own self to make those connections. And religion teaches us to go outside, and you need a mediator, and you can't do it on your own. So like you said, see how it's flipping? So we went from the ground and the
Well,
feet, and now
yeah.
we're connecting to the
And
crown and the
those were
head.
based in blood, where this is based in
Yes,
spirit.
yes,
I
yes,
don't need the propitiation of a sacrifice.
yes.
I don't need that. There's
Very
no
much,
need
Yes.
for
it's
you
very,
said a mediator.
yeah.
I can connect to I can connect to the creator because the creator is me.
Yes. And you know what's so funny too? You see the fall of this on such a bigger level because literally the controlling factor of this whole entire planet is the currency. The currency.
Hmm.
The C, the currency. The currency is leaving the churches. That's how they
And it's
know.
very plasma as well. It's very much going, the
Yes.
plasma in the blood, very much the
Yes.
Holy Grail plasma in the blood's been coming forward for me a lot, in internal dialogues that I have. In that there's no one bit to the Holy Grail, it's the components of the Trinity of whatever you're seeking in that time. And right now,
It's this
plasma is
membrane. This membrane. They're showing me that Jen, the membrane is going to change our blood. When we go through this plasma thing all the way, it's going to do something to our blood. You're right. And I
yeah,
see the plasma literally glowing, like getting way brighter.
Well, that's
yeah,
like the
yeah.
birthright. We come in through the birth canal of the mother, which is really the passage into blood. And
Yes.
I see my exodus as going back through that birth canal, but I'm not going to be born into the blood. I'm going to be into the spirit.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
described as plasma.
Yes.
That's truly born again, is it not?
Yes, I do. I think that is the whole born again is that because when you know that you don't die and you embrace your spiritual part of you, the spirit takes on a whole different consciousness because it's because you're connected in a different way. And I think that's what the whole thing is about the baptism. Once you get to these parts in your consciousness and you activate your pineal gland and you have these own experiences within
Mm.
your own being, that is a pickling. It's a transformation that's alchemical that cannot be undone, but it doesn't have anything to do with anything other than your own transformation
And
of
that's the difference
awareness.
between the baptism of water and then the
And fire.
baptism of the Spirit, you
Yes,
know.
fire. Holy
And
Spirit.
in this case, it's probably why I can still speak in tongues. I can interpret them, and
Yes.
it's
You
because
can't unpickle.
Yeah.
I was
No,
born through the fire. It was the
Yes.
Spirit.
Yes.
yeah.
You can't undo that. It's alchemical. You
Yeah,
made an
yeah.
alchemical. Yes. And that's what I mean. This can only be done inside of you. And that's what I'm saying. To understand when they're losing their religions and it's breaking their heart, they need to understand it's only now because they'll actually get to meet God face to face. Don't be sad. Be glad. This opportunity is huge, huge for your soul. Huge.
Isn't it amazing that things happen? I mean, I was baptized as an
Mm.
adult in 1979, and here we're sitting now, you know, almost
Yeah.
40 plus years later, and I'm having this epiphany as I'm sitting here. See, I don't believe we're all the same inside, but for myself, as I'm seeing this baptism of me coming up out of the water, that's being released out of that Pisces sign and coming up out of the water, speaking in tongues. That was the baptism of the Spirit.
Which represents 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the
Mhm.
land, and
Yeah.
the pouring of the Holy Spirit down upon the earth. Yeah, the living waters return through the consciousness of us. And that was to me always shown that's the second coming. It's you. It's you. And I was like, that's a
This is some
pretty
far
neat
out shit,
concept.
man. I don't care what anyone said. You can get stoned on this and just really have a freaking good time. I mean, that's all I got to say. I'm sitting here, I'm feeling really high, and I really am like I have just took a good hit of some hash.
Yeah.
I keep
Because
that. Yeah,
there's this
everything.
thing going on inside my head. It's like,
Uh-huh.
wow, that's pretty
That
far
that's
fucking
called
out.
the marriage. That's when we get married inside of us and we get that special energy.
Don't bogart that joint. Whatever the
Right?
hell you're doing.
Right?
Scotty, you pass it around. Come on now.
That's
But
the
anyway,
best. But I think as well, there's no one rebirth greater
Right.
or lesser than the other either. Because, like you said, Wayne, it might feel superior because it's new and it's different, and you can apply it to the old. But a real rebirth, you're able to bring through whatever you were left with beforehand. Like tongues, like being able to commune with others, like be all of those things are no less than they actually add foundation to the next rebirth. So all of these prisms of rebirth that we go through in whatever cycle, just like nature, just like the stars, there's no one superior to the other. It's how it's applied and
Some
maintained.
people, I think, Jen, I've seen some of the biggest rebirths from people is when they were able to access their own healing powers through
And that's
miraculous
it.
means. That's a
And that's what I've
rebirth. Wow.
And Trina, you mentioned something earlier that hit me here, in that, 'cause I've spoken about it before, we have, I think, in the void that's going to be created by these gods and deities and leaders, pastors, everybody, the heartbreak, it's like a divorce, and you
Yeah, we
feel
got to
divorced.
plug the holes. We got to plug the holes with love and compassion and expansion.
I feel that a lot of the fear of losing that foundation of those that they've put above them or outside of them is that there's been a self-loathing indoctrinated into societies, and that fear stems from this inner monster that they've learned to fear and feel shame and guilt over, and difference and less than. And that's where I see these two streams on the either side of this stream, in that there's this deep trenched fear, and it can look like fear of this, and this, whatever headline it might be. But actually, when you get down and speak to them, you can feel that it's all fear of self, that they fear these things outside of them, and maybe project that fear onto whatever thing that is outside of them that may come along the line. But it's
Mhm.
actually this devoid, this fear of self, and fear of that navigation and the rebirth path of inner work, inner self knowing, and heal thyself kind of thing. they're in fear of it.
Because
Yeah,
it's everything opposite of what we've been programmed to do. We've always been programmed to go outside of ourselves and to go to the authority figures so they could tell us stupid little humans what to do. But now we're starting to know that our own divinity is wiser than anything they've ever given to us. They've never been able to speak such wisdom, especially to our hearts. So when we can find that solace and that comfort, it'll heal a lot of these holes in the heart. When you pull these false gods out of your system, it literally creates a hole. So make sure and fill that with compassion and love, whatever way works for you. Because
in
you're
some
right, Jenny.
circles,
Yeah,
this
these,
would be considered heresy.
of course,
You
because
know,
it's their belief
they
system.
burn
Yeah,
us at the stake in a second. But
yeah,
much to what your point was, is that so yesterday I was talking about nihilism, and in fact, I had a chance to talk to someone this morning about it. And this is my solution to the world, because if you're going to bring up a problem, just don't bring up the problem. Bring up a potential solution. It may not be the solution, but
well,
bring up something.
how can we
So,
help?
yeah. And so what we're talking about here is Christianity is dying, and you've got a segment of Americans, and I'm sure with Britons as well, that hold on fast to that religion, that mindset, and anything that attacks it is considered to be of an anti-nature. Get it? But the fact and the numbers don't lie. When you have 43 million Americans that have left the church within
Yes,
the last 5 years, this is that void. And what the problem is, they looked for government.
Fillers.
Yeah.
Yeah, fillers.
And then the government failed them. So now
Yeah.
they have this expanding void. The message that we're saying is that no, 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 wait a minute. There's a natural process to this, but you don't have to be in this void. The fact
yes,
is that there is a brighter day. There is hope in this situation. It's not a God. It's not a religion. It's not a government. It's about you.
it's in you. Yeah,
Isn't it?
what's in
Successive.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
understand there is a realm of where there are innumerable other spirit beings. You're going to be one of the ones that, as you transcend, they're going to go, he's on our side, or I want her. I want
yeah,
Jenny on my team. I want Trina as well. No, I'm going to take the whole people. I can see in the chat room. You're on. This is what's happening.
yes,
And this person
Yeah.
said to me, he said, thank you. He said, you've really given me hope.
yes. This
He
is
said,
what
I
we
hadn't
need.
seen things like this. He says, now I can see that me complaining about the government, that's a trap. And I said, bingo, it is a trap. He said, I did not know I was practicing nihilism.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
That's
I
Well,
mean,
powerful.
awareness.
you could hear it on
Oh,
the phone. It was just like this gasp. It's like, he said, I was practicing nihilism.
your awareness was a healing balm to his soul.
I think to a lot of people who
It
watch
is.
that show and share it with people. I mean, one person wrote the comment. She said, you finally explained it in such a plain way of what's happened to society.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's when they lose hope, that's dangerous.
Well, how
We
many of
have to
us, let's
find a
be
way.
honest, how many of us have practiced nihilism?
I went through it when I disconnected
I
from
think that,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did an inventory before I went to bed and to sleep, and I
Yeah.
said, holy shit. And I started counting the ways of things
Well,
that
well,
where,
found out about money. Okay, that hit when I found out about the money systems. Then I found out about the false god thing. I was like, oh shit, here it comes again. Yeah, I've had waves of this, Wayne, and boy, they knock you down hard. That's why I have so much compassion for people who are struggling with their faith right now. I'm like, my
yeah,
heart goes to you. I feel so bad for your pain. I know I've done it. I've been through it. I've walked through that fire. But let me tell you, the freedom and the power and the love and the support and the unity from that which you're seeking and never felt can finally appear in your world. And it comes through your heart, comes
yeah.
through you. This is an opportunity for such
There's hope
amazing
here,
healing.
folks. There's
Yeah,
hope. And yeah. Hey,
the
Stephen, good to see
biggest.
you. So many good people out there.
To never feel
Jenny?
abandoned again is
Mhm.
uh, such a giving and graceful state to be in. And you only can do that. You can only do that because everybody's experienced their own experience at different times and coming into the same stream of consciousness, but then leaving is to know that when you can walk within and have that inner dialogue within without fear or guilt or shame, with complete acceptance, there's the burden that's lifted of abandonment that heals so many wounds, like the abandonment of political sphere, the abandonment of the church, betrayal.
Abandonment as a child with the parents. Abandonment
That's
of, I mean,
from the start.
that's what makes
And
this
when you
group so special. And Jenny, I'll let you finish, but all of you are watching this. This is what makes you very special, is the fact that all of us have experienced these paths. But here we stand, and instead of fearing, we're actually sitting here and saying that there is great hope. It doesn't
Yes.
require religion, doesn't require government, doesn't, the only thing it requires is you.
Yes.
So anyway,
Yes.
Jenny, I owe you an apology on that, honey. I just
Oh,
stepped right
you
on
don't,
top of
you
you.
don't. No, no, we're Geminis. I think that's the best way to talk. But the
We weave, we zig, we zag.
it's in and out, and then Trina adds the fire to then the spark to it all.
Oh,
But the abandonment of self is the most devastating thing I witness when I'm spiritually coaching people. It's the most devastating thing I can observe in somebody because it affects everything. And when they go on that hermit path, the nine, and they go into that realm of possibility in the root, accepting all, not limiting any, but accepting all, the relief and the energy that you see changing them, the alchemy that you see going on in an instant is like birth. It's like witnessing a baby coming into the world where you just can't help but feel that tingle all over your body and like, wow, this is special. A stranger's baby can do that to you, let alone a connected by family baby. You know, you feel it reverberating up the when you see that in somebody, and I don't know what it is. Tonight, there's always beautiful energy here, but tonight I'm having to do energy work as I sit because it's reverberating the love, the and to some that might sound corny, but in these voids on either side, the love that's building in these oneness streams, and and the acceptance of self within all of those fractals in that oneness stream is intense to channel, you know. And when you're coming into a group like this on a night like this, it's you can feel the energy, and I mean, with this energy you feel like you could blow down a city, you know, just with a breath and a movement. So yeah, it's beautiful in
Jenny,
here.
I've given birth to a kidney stone.
There you
So
are.
Ouch.
You see,
Ouch.
what is
I was
that?
loving your description, on the birth of a new soul that comes in. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, man could never give birth, but I did give birth to a kidney stone. So anyway.
And you felt the
Keep
relief.
seeing the synchronicities in our clothes. Like I have Wayne's color blue on and Jenny's color orange. It's so funny. I just
Oh,
see how everything is blending and restructuring itself. And I'm so glad you've been bringing this up, Wayne, about the nihilism and the hope, the focus on the hope. This is what's going to get us to where we want to be. And that's what the whole thing when I was 3, the Lord would tell me, you came here to be like Jesus because you guys the only savior is going to be us supporting and loving and helping each other. It's a fact. And when we can truly embrace that, not as a weakness, but as the greatest power on this planet, man, we are going to see some
and
amazing things happen.
and
Amazing.
that's the change, that the transformation. I mean, there's a
Yes.
lot to be potentially depressed about everywhere you look on the landscape, but
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Something inside of me is saying, This is what my time was, to rise to the occasion, to meet the challenge, and be a part of that voice of unity that says, no, we don't have to accept this. I know it looks bad, but
Yeah.
there is something far better that's here. And if
Yes.
you will join with me, I can love you, and your differences is what makes us stronger. And within that unity of thought, I mean, it's like the Astral Expedition group. We'll meet on Sunday. Someone sent me an article on the fact that they've now confirmed scientifically two individuals talking to each other in lucid dreaming.
Yeah, beautiful.
Do you know what that opens up now, that we now know that has been scientifically proven what that does? And then I look at what this group does. There are synchronicities which tells me we are at such a higher plane. It's not that we're better than anyone else. We've all paid a price to get here, but the thing is, we've gotten here. I mean, that's beautiful, folks. I mean,
Yes.
we're a small, intimate group, and it's amazing what this group is capable of and has done and is doing.
And I tell you what that does do, Wayne, when we're seeing constraints of powers that be who own AI and own programming systems and all of these things that are making it easier for us to be constrained from a distance, even in our own homes. Where there's constraint, again, there's a flex and a flux happening here, because where there's constraint here, our spirits and beings have found a workaround, a loophole. Okay, so we're being constrained here, we're going to extend here, into telepathic communication, which is unlimited right now. And so we've gone into an unlimited space because we've been sort of forced and corralled into a limited space. So we've made the best of it. That's what I mean. There's a lot of making the best of it to be had right now.
Twilight Miss, send me an email, because I've lost your email. Just seeing on this. She's part of the group, and I was trying to get. But you're right, Jenny, and this is what makes us. There are a lot of people I know in this group that are facing some challenges,
Yeah.
health-wise, otherwise,
Mhm.
but we don't have the answers for everybody. But what we do have is the ability to show where those answers await.
It's a frequency away. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
I
It's just
mean,
a frequency away. And we connecting to us, many of us have healed our own bodies with things that they said could not be healed. And
Yeah.
that frequency is available for you through our hearts. And I freely share it with any
yeah,
who wish to
yeah,
receive it. And it literally is a frequency away. I've seen people do amazing things, and it's literally just an activation, and the whole body knows what to do with that command. So
true.
command, be the God you are, because you're part of it. You'll never be it, but boy, you are a part of it. And that part is potent.
Steve, that's a very good point. He
Yeah.
said that he had cancer, and he said, I found out the cause of it was resentment. He says, when I let go with forgiveness, the
Yeah.
cancer went as well.
I've seen that's such a correlation to cancer and emotions.
It's in the
It's
book of
all
Proverbs.
yeah.
It says, he who holds resentment, it dries the bones and it wrecks the body.
Yes. It's just like drinking poison and expecting
Yeah.
somebody else to get sick. It doesn't
I
work.
am so thankful that all the trauma I went through as a kid, that I came out understanding that it's forgiveness. And that's a great power that each of us possess. You just don't fucking realize it, folks. You have the ability to forgive and
Yeah.
forget. And if you will activate that power, shit in your life will start getting unshitted. I'm just going to
It
put it
does.
in layman's terms. You've
It does.
got to learn to forgive. Forgive yourself, first of all.
Mhm.
You're not perfect. You were never meant to be. You're here experiencing it.
Human.
But
Yes.
learn to forgive and love yourself. And then, no matter what person has ever hurt you, learn to invade. It is the most powerful force in the universe. Your body will respond,
When
your
you
body
can
will love
forgive,
you. Go ahead,
yeah,
hon.
and forgiveness, it empties the well of discordant frequencies. The forgiveness
Yes,
is the release. And then the healing balm that follows that is whatever higher awareness you've come to reach that level of forgiveness. And then that higher awareness creates a new frequency in the body. And it
it's
literally,
powerful.
it is
You,
so powerful. It is so powerful.
you just don't understand, folks. I'm really, you could say, lucky in certain, well, a number of things, but it's the reason why is that there is a frequency, and you can't get there if you have this block.
Which is
That goes
mental.
with, yeah. Jenny, what are you thinking, dear?
Yeah,
I,
yeah, I'd agree. I think forgiveness really, for want of a better word in the English term, can only be for yourself. I don't think we actually have the power to forgive others. What I do think we have the power or the dominion spiritually to forgive others, because forgiveness, like you said, is such a healing inner balm that literally creates a let go. Because we can't put ourselves exactly in the perception of the person that we should forgive. What we can do is forgive ourselves for how we were in a situation, how we feel about them. We can forgive ourselves in that space, and it seems to just debride the outside naturally.
see, I
It's
think we
like
can forgive others. My father is a perfect example of that.
Me too. I
I
forgave my,
mean,
yeah.
when I told him that I forgave him, Dad, I'm thinking of you. I
Mm.
mean, here was a man whose heart was really hard. And I saw a transformation before me because the tears started flowing. And when I spoke that word of forgiveness over him, he began he began to forgive himself.
And then he
yeah,
started
And
to
he
fill
went
with
out of
light.
this world
Yes.
not a bitter man anymore.
Yes.
So
yeah.
yeah, that's
So I
that's this my
think
perspective, sweetie.
you know, for I suppose I'm being picky in the words for the etymology of them, in that for me it would be that you've given him grace, because you know you've forgiven those wounds within self and given him grace. But I think
Grace his favor.
it's favor,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, giving him the
Yeah.
favor to go. And so that's what I mean. It's like the forgiveness within self is like a reverberating balm that extends out in a way that is much more than if you just say to somebody, I forgive you, or without doing that inner work of full self and full realization of forgiveness within self and acceptance in whatever past you're going into within self to do that. It it's like an aura with its own auric field that comes from a person that touches people like your dad, and for me, puts them to their knees with grace, you know, because it's the Six of Pentacles for me, where you know that you the guy's holding the scales and giving out the bread to the people at either side of him that are on their knees, and he's giving grace to them. So I suppose the wording might just be different in my spirit or my experience as to what, but yeah, it does the same thing.
Yeah.
And there's something so beautiful like the situation that you described with your dad. I mean, it touches you, because
And I
there's
see
just
what
some
you're saying too, Jen, because you can't you can't forgive somebody until you've worked on healing yourself to a certain level anyways.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's like you said,
there's
it's the language is a little different, but you're both experiencing and expressing the deepest levels of healing through the releases of being able to find forgiveness. And it does,
that's
it just,
the
it's
it's
huge.
like walk in their shoes completely, like we've been discussing in the
Yeah.
show. Can't fully see their perspective ever.
Mhm.
So we for me anyway, I can't apply forgiveness to that because I can't know how walking in their shoes affected them to act the way they did towards me. What I can do is forgive myself for all things that are attached to it, and that grace does amplify outside of self and gives maybe a momentum to another person's journey that I'm emitting that to, gives them grace and space to look at themselves and maybe accept it. And I think your dad's tears were of finally accepting the monster that he tried to avoid within, of the things that had been done and said, and you just stroked that monster
Jenny,
and
what
gave it a
it was an opening of a door that
Yeah.
began for him. It was a long healing process, but through the act of a child, um, we fail to understand that those acts are the most powerful ones. And in this case, um,
staff.
yeah. All right, everybody. That hour went by fast. What the heck happened? I mean, I can't think of a more positive way to end on this. And this is what makes this tribe so unique, is the fact that we share the same message within all of us.
Yeah.
I really think it's the glue, the compound that binds us together.
Yeah. Forgiveness and hope
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
healing
yeah.
of all the terrible things that we've experienced in our consciousness through the systems of the world that we live in. It's time to finally embrace what we are as soul and love each other. And we'll see miraculous things on this world that we can't even imagine. The things that Jesus did, the things that we're going to be so much bigger than that, so much bigger. It's because there's so many more of us. So there's power in numbers. So
I
love one another,
intend
love each
this
other.
I intend this winter to walk on water.
Why
I've done
not?
it before, you know.
Yes, why not? I'm like, why not?
Frozen,
I
but
want to go
it
walk.
was still water. The guy didn't say that it had to be, in what
Wayne, I
state.
think you probably could walk on water if you set your focus to it. I bet you could do that.
I can
I I,
walk
I
on
mean,
fire.
I've
I've done
seen
that
it,
so many
right?
times. Yeah.
I
I
know
mean,
that's what I mean. If you can
just like,
walk on fire, you could probably walk on water too. That's what I mean. We've been taught that these things are out of our reach, and they are
the other thing else I
so
can
in
do,
our reach.
I can walk on
Um,
sunshine. Oh yeah, because it
I
makes me
think
feel
so
good.
too.
All
Oh
right, everybody. We love you. Thank you. I'll be here tomorrow. Ladies, hope to see you again next week for sure. Jenny, just love you, darling. Just
my
you
God.
know, bright smile. Just and Trina, it goes without saying,
Love
it's
you
like,
guys.
my
Yeah.
best buddy,
I love you
Paul
guys.
Joe says barefoot skiing, got to go fast. Now I've done that, but that hurts like you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
Imagine.
like, okay, I had a bad experience with that. Hey there, Gilbert. Good to see you. Everyone in the chat room, we love you. Thank you. Hi, Gaia. Much love to you and Paul and all the rest of you. Thank you. Twilight Mist, make sure to send me an email so I can get you on the list. I tried to do that and missed mess. Colleen, much love to you. Colleen, by the way, just in case if y'all don't know this, she is one of the most, she's very good at researching and she sends a lot of emails and, you know, talking about God, and the Hebrew God. It probably most likely is Enlil. He really hated us. And, Enki, who was the really nice guy, got swatted down. So, anyway, so, uh, anyway, so Trina, I'll see you on Sunday. Miss Jenny, I will see you next Tuesday for sure. Give love to Theo and to all the kids, please.
Yeah.
Tell
Thank
them we
you.
love them. And
Yeah.
Trina, much love to
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Grandpa Brian, much love to Luna.
Yeah.
Luna's a
Love
very
Luna.
cool dog. Luna's cool. That's all I got to say. I have to
Beautiful
take,
too.
yeah. Grandpa Brian, you ought to send a picture of Luna.
She's
Fabulous,
beautiful.
fabulous stuff. But to a 2-year-old husky,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
lots of
even
spirit.
more.
She came into the house and she could smell Rocky.
Yeah.
And oh man, that dog was like, well, where's
Where
the
is
dog?
he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We love
She
y'all,
knows.
folks. Remember, love yourself and then love the one you're with.
Yes.